Tonight's show is brought to you by A Restless Soul, Bendetti Optics, and you, our listeners. They've got Tomater, except they call him Toe Tater. Why do they call him Toe Tater? Because copyright infringement. And that's BS. Pixar, Disney. What is up, all of you wayward souls, and welcome back to the Wayward Stories podcast. Wayward Stories is the podcast where we tell the tales of our adventures and our wanderings and our wonderings. How are y'all doing tonight? Look at me go. I haven't even finished the final term yet. I told you guys it may be months unless something crazy happens. Well, something crazy did happen. Not really, but I ended up with a spare night, and I'm far enough out ahead on my homework. Everything's looking good, and I've got a little brain space, and there's some stuff coming up in the near future. And now that I see the light at the end of the tunnel, my little creative spark is starting to spark again. And for the first time in a long time, I got excited about making a podcast tonight. So we're going to sit down and make it happen. We all benefit, right? You guys get to listen to me talk about stuff, and some of you actually find that entertaining, I've been told. And I get to share some stuff that I want to share, talk about some new adventures to send you guys on. But before we get into the show, let me do the housekeeping. You guys, please rate, review, and subscribe. It's been a long time since I've had a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts specifically. And Spotify has been a while too, but Apple's been quite some time. So if any of you have thought, yes, I really need to help Justin out someday and leave that rating and review, now is as good a time as ever, and I would greatly appreciate it. Secondly, thank all of you who have written in and who have been in contact, and if any of the rest of you would like to make contact, mywaywardstory@gmail.com. And then also, I recently did quite a few updates to the website, streamlined it quite a bit as I have grown, as the podcast has grown, and as my outlook and my view of everything has grown. I figured out what works, I figured out what doesn't work, and I cleaned the website up quite a bit. And I have a whole lot of stuff right on the homepage, the landing page as it were. My TikTok's on there now, Instagram is right on the front. Cleaned it up a lot, so if you guys want to check it out, that is waywardstories.com as always. Now, let me give you guys a handful of updates. For those of you that have followed along from the beginning, so many of you have become my friends out there, right? So I like to keep you guys in the loop about where my life is progressing. You know, Drake didn't start from no mother trucking bottom, right? He was on Degrassi on Nickelodeon. That's not starting at the bottom. I, however, in a very real sense have, and though I will never achieve Drake status in basically any way possible, going from $186 in the bank and like 3 weeks from homeless after my mother had died, after I was suddenly getting divorced against my wishes, and having to scramble to save my own bacon 8 years ago to now, where I'm 3 weeks, guys, that's part of this update, away from being a college graduate for the first time in my life. I would love to say it's my second or third or fourth and it's a PhD and not an undergrad, but you know what? That's not the case, and this is something in and of itself. So we're 3 weeks away from graduation, and I'll update you guys again after it's all said and done about how we finished, about where we came out in the big scheme of things. But alongside with that, I've been able to pick up a lot of stuff I've always wanted to do down at the National Park site with the Archaeological Survey. I've been giving lectures on things. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening. Couple of those updates are, we did go do, last we talked, I was about to go to the archaeological training program at Plum Bayou. Got to spend 8 full days down there, y'all. I got to open my own unit and excavate to 40 centimeters, which is the equivalent of like, I don't know. And when you're doing that one razor thin trowel slice of dirt at a time, that takes a while. I was on my knees for 8 days out there in that unit, and I did a pretty darn good job. I really desperately needed that for experience. I've been to the archaeological dig for the last couple of years, but it was at a site that was basically a midden heap, a trash heap of broken pottery. So it wasn't so technical. You were doing a lot of digging and a lot of sifting. This was a bit more technical. It was, incumbent upon me to excavate a clean unit. I was able to what you call platform some things that were important to leave in situ as I moved my way down. Got some cool pictures. I got some cool experience. 8 days. I'm very, very thankful for our archaeological survey and society and the training program they put on in our avocational archaeology program. I have learned recently that people all over the United States, entities all over the United States, look to our avocational program as a guide, as a model for how to integrate the public into archaeology. And that's really cool. We have a great program, and I am happy and very, very fortunate to be a part of it. Very happy. So that went really well. I did a kids program down at the fort on archaeology, which I have to give full credit to Ranger Jessica and Amy, who is the Eastern National Manager there, and she volunteered to help because they've done kids programs. I have not. I basically ended up serving as like the technical advisor and said, okay, here's the things we need to do for this to stay in the theme of archaeology. And they took it and ran with it. And I'm not joking when I say they could be like rewriting like science communication for kids in archaeology. Like archaeology can be hard to translate to children. This was the coolest thing ever. We even got a write-up in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, statewide newspaper. That was really cool. And one last thing. We have just recently started. This is very Wayward Stories related because, we've talked about search and rescue several times on here. Our search and rescue team just started a youth search and rescue program. Basically, it is a prep program for children 13 to 17 years old till they're old enough to actually join the search team to start teaching them and training them in the building blocks of search and rescue and wilderness, survival and safety. And the team tapped me to be the training and events coordinator, and I'm very proud of that. I don't like to talk about stuff and be like, oh, I'm so proud. I don't like to think and focus on myself that much, but I'm pretty proud of that because that means I've made an impact in 8 years with that team. They say, this guy knows how to teach. He knows what he's talking about and he knows how to teach it. And to entrust me with children is possibly dangerous. Not really. I'll be safe. I promise. Parents out there. But that's very cool. We had a big opening event a couple of Saturdays ago, and it was really cool. We set up a lot of stuff. I'm not going to waste any more time on it, but you guys out there that are listening, that are part of search and rescue teams, get in touch with me through any of the means that you can. If you're interested in what we're doing and think it's a cool idea to bring into your group, it really is a cool idea. Like it's win-win for everyone all the way around. A lot of cool stuff to talk about there. But anyway, that's what's going on in my world. I hope everything is going well in y'all's world. And let's get into tonight's episode. So what's tonight's episode going to be about? Well, if you read titles, like you probably do, you're going to know you already know we're going to be talking about Route 66 in Kansas. We're actually going to loop in a little bit of Missouri that I've not covered before. And because Kansas, be completely honest with you, there's only 13.2 miles of Route 66 in Kansas. So there's some really cool stuff. It's a part of the trip and a trip you need to take, but it might be a little short for an episode tonight. So we're going to loop in the very southwestern tip of Missouri from essentially Springfield over, because I've not covered that in an episode before. Why are we touching on this tonight? Well, I have gone recently to that section with my daughter, and we explored, and there's some really cool stuff there you need to know about if you are a road tripper. But also, it occurred to me, next year is the centennial of Route 66, 100 years of Route 66 in America. Places all across the country, entities, cities, counties, states are upping their Route 66 game. Like they're spending significant money on parks, on new signage, on tourist attractions. Like they're pumping money into this. And next year is going to be an enormous road trip celebration. Nostalgic road trip celebration in the United States. Route 66 turns 100. And it occurred to me, I've already got, I think, 3 episodes in our back catalog. Yes, I have 3 that you can go and listen to. They are Baxter Springs to Tulsa. I've renamed them. Some of you will remember them under different names, but anyone out there, if you want to go listen to my Route 66 episodes of sections I have traversed so far, you're going to be looking for the episode called Route 66, Baxter Springs to Tulsa, or Oklahoma Route 66, Baxter Springs to Tulsa, Missouri Route 66, St. James to Springfield, and I believe Route 66, Kingman to Needles, Kingman, Arizona to Needles, California. That'll be episode 2. 99 episodes ago. God, guys, we're getting old here, this podcast, which is awesome. But episode 2, Route 66, Kingman to Needles. In the works, very soon, it may be the next episode. I've been needing to travel from the Mother Road Market in Tulsa to Oklahoma City, because I've done from Edmond, Oklahoma, which is OKC, suburb of Oklahoma City, all the way to Texola. So I've done all of Oklahoma now except for that one little section between the Mother Road Market in Tulsa and basically Edmond, OKC, northeast Oklahoma City. That may actually happen this coming weekend. And then I'll be able to tag it into a trip I've already made from Edmond to Texola that's been sitting back here on the back burner, waiting for me to find enough to add to it, whether it be the panhandle of Texas or that section between Tulsa and OKC. Well, I think I may reconcile that this weekend. I'm not positive yet, but that the impetus for all of this is the centennial's coming up, and I've got a lot of material on Route 66, and I should probably be adding more. There's a lot of stuff close by to me, reasonably close, that I can, patch up the holes that I'm missing and turn them into episodes. Well, tonight, that's one of the things we're doing, and the very next episode may be the rest of Oklahoma, which is also going to be pretty cool because it's got a lot of stuff to check out. Indeed, the National Museum for Route 66 is in the western part of Oklahoma, so look for that in the future. But let's get started on tonight, and let's start at Springfield. Last I talked to you guys when I did the Route 66 from St. James to Springfield, well, we stopped at Springfield. So we need to go from Springfield all the way over to Galena, Kansas, and then on down to Baxter Springs to fill in that gap. And that's what we're going to do tonight. So let's get kicking. All right. If you guys will think back to the episode called Seize the Moments, towards the end of that episode, I talked about a place called the Best Western Rail Haven, Route 66. It's the old Best Western. It's a classic Best Western that has been sitting on Route 66 forever, right there in Springfield, Missouri. My daughter and I stayed there on a weekend road trip to go up and explore Wilson Creek National Battlefield just outside of Springfield. And then we also went to the Pythian Castle for a ghost hunt, that's all in that episode. I'm not going to repeat it tonight. If you want to check it out, go back to Seize the Moments, in the last 10 episodes or so. And you can check that out. But I'm going to run across a couple of these things tonight as we make our way out of Springfield. So when you are on Route 66 in Springfield, you should stay at the Best Western Rail Haven. Why? Elvis Presley himself stayed there twice. They actually have their preserved old yellow Roots Best Western sign. Do you guys remember those? Like back, well, some of you are probably too young for that, but back in the 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, they had these big yellow signs with black letters that had a very specific kind of logo. It was a very specific advertising campaign and kind of market aesthetic that they were going for. They still have their original sign preserved on the property. They have a new one now, but the old one is preserved, and that's pretty cool. And Elvis Presley stayed there a couple of times. He's not that big a deal anymore. A lot of people's parents, like their mothers, would have left their fathers for Elvis Presley. That was a whole thing. But he's still extremely famous, one of the greatest recording artist of all time, and he stayed at that hotel. And we're talking the proper era too. Elvis Presley, during the Route 66 days, people would have been listening to his songs cruising out Route 66, right? So stay at the Best Western Rail Haven. But what else is going on in Springfield that's really cool for you road trippers? Okay, number one, there's an OG Steak and Shake on Route 66. Okay, for any of you that didn't know, Steak and Shake's actually a pretty old company. One of only 3 original Steak Shakes is right there in Springfield on Route 66. And it's so old, it's literally on the National Register of Historic Places. They lean into the Route 66 vibe. So you're going to want to stop in at Steak and Shake. Even if you prefer Freddy's, we're on a Route 66 nostalgia trip. Check out the Steak and Shake in Springfield. The Rockwood Motor Court is also another place that you can stay in Springfield, much like the Best Western Rail Haven. This one is OG as well. Each one of their rooms is themed to a different era in the Route 66 timeline. And so that's really cool. I've not stayed there. I did the research on it so I could tell you guys about it. I have not stayed there. And someday I will, because there's a few things in Springfield I've not been able to do. As like any of you road trippers know, you can go into an area, and if you don't have unlimited resources, which I do not, and you don't have unlimited time, which I definitely do not, you can't do everything there is to do. You got to hit the things that are the most available to you, the most interesting to you, and that you actually have time to pull off. So I want to go back to Springfield because there's other things there I need to do. And when I do, I will absolutely be going to the Rockwood Motor Court because I haven't got to experience that yet. And I really love staying in the old hotels out 66. You guys have heard me in the past talk about a few that I have stayed in, and others that I want to, like the Blue Swallow out in Tucumcari. In Springfield still, you've got the Route 66 Visitor Center. Very cool place. And you are going to want to hit most of the Route 66 visitor centers in the bigger cities, really any of them that you come across if you have time. If you're doing a Route 66 road trip, check out the visitor centers because it's been my experience. Y'all, I've been to literally hundreds of small museums and visitor centers. Actually, probably literally 1,000 or more in my lifetime. You know how I roll. Route 66 visitor centers are one place that they usually don't skimp. I've been in some terrible small town museums, county museums. I mean, absolutely terrible. It's like, I don't care about your 1967 graduating class. This is more like a genealogy archive for the local community as opposed to any kind of local history. I've been in some terrible ones. Route 66 visitor centers and museums, typically that's not the case. Communities put money into those. So if you see one, stop in it. And Springfield is no different. It's a really nice one. There's also a Route 66 car museum in Springfield, and a lot of people that drive 66 are gearheads. If you're into cars, check out the Route 66 car museum. I told you in the Seize the Moments episode where my daughter and I had gone to Springfield, one of the things we did is the History Museum on the Square. Definitely worth stopping and checking out. A beautifully done, I mean, beautifully done history museum. And as I told you then, they claim one of the very first Wild West shootouts happened right there in Springfield, old Wild Bill Hickok. So you might want to go check that out because they have a really beautiful museum, interpretive museum. They talk about that Wild West shootout. They talk about the Frisco Railroad in the region. They talk about the Native American, the indigenous history in the region. It's, again, you guys are talking to a museum guide, not just one that goes to a lot of them, but one that works in them. This is a really well done one. So you're going to want to check that out. Now, when you start to make your way out of Springfield on 66, you're heading towards Joplin and then eventually on to Galena. One of the things you're going to come across is a place called Gary's Gay Purita. Now, this is an old service station. It's got 4 buildings of memorabilia. They have sodas. They have snacks. It's an old Sinclair service station. And this is a great place to get photographs. It's also a great place to get a snack. For real. You go in there and get you a glass bottle soda. Get yourself a RC Cola and a moon pie, right? We're throwing it back. We're going back and doing nostalgia. Go get you an RC Cola and a moon pie at Gary's Gay Purita. There's a big, long history on the name of that. It goes back to the original owners, the wife and the husband-wife duo that originally owned that service station back in the day. Her name was Gay, and they mistook a word for a Spanish word that is not Purita for a word that I can't remember what it said, and I'm not going to stop and look it up. But anyway, all it is a quirky and beautifully restored and preserved little gas station on Route 66 right down there just outside of Springfield. And it's a great place to get a snack, and it's a great place to peruse through their buildings and see some really well maintained artifacts. Once we get past Gary's gay parida, because it's not no longer Gay and her husband. A gentleman named Gary took it over after the fact. And that's something you're going to want to, I don't know if you're like me. I like to travel mindfully. I like to be intellectual about it. I want to learn why it's important. Get online and Google it. Read about Gary's gay parida. They've got a really cool history and a really cool backstory. It seems like Gary himself, I believe he has since passed, was the guy who took it over later on in the game. And he seemed to be very well loved in the community. So something that you might want to check out. Also, just beyond that, you're going to find yourself at Spencer Service Station. Also restored. And this one's great for photo ops. You cannot go in there to my knowledge. Now, I don't remember because I did not stop there when I went through there, but I saw it. And from what I could see online, it does not appear to be open to the public, but it is open and you are welcome to stop and take photos there with your vehicles, with your little motorcycles, whatever it is you like to do. You can stop and check it out. Now, this was one of the impetuses for this episode. We are now coming to a place just outside of Carthage, Missouri called Red Oak 2. We're traveling from east to west on 66 in tonight's episode. I actually did this in like 3 different trips, so I'm kind of piecing it together for you guys tonight. But in our minds, we are traveling west from the east, from Springfield. And we have left Springfield. We have crossed across the Ozark Plateau here. We're coming up on Carthage, which is just not that far outside of Joplin. And outside of Carthage, there is Red Oak 2. And what is Red Oak 2? Red Oak 2 is really interesting, actually. You may hear a little paper rustling because I'm actually going to read to you about Red Oak 2. My daughter and I just went there 2 days ago, or yesterday. Matter of fact, it was yesterday. So cool. Accidentally found it on Google Maps. So we just shot up there to check it out, and here's this thing, and it's just off of 66. It's not directly on the alignment of 66. It's just off of 66, and it's considered a Route 66 attraction. But anyway, Red Oak 2 was the brainchild of artist Lowell Davis, who grew up in the real Red Oak, Missouri, about 18 miles northwest of the new Red Oak 2. Like many other agricultural towns across the country, the original Red Oak started to fade sometime after World War II when people began to move into the cities. After Davis had left the area for several years, he returned in the 1970s to find his hometown had become a ghost town. In 1987, Davis lived on a farm near Carthage that was a little more than an empty cornfield. His creative inspiration soon led him to turn his acreage into a tribute to his hometown, and before long, Red Oak 2 was born. He began to buy homes and businesses from the original town site and other rural ghost towns, painstakingly moving them to the new site and restoring them to their original grandeur. Referred to as the Norman Rockwell of rural art, Davis loved the past simpler times, which were reflected not only in his new town, but also in his paintings and sculptures. Of his recreated town, he said, "Red Oak 2 is a combination of a painting and a sculpture, and it is just made from things that someone else threw away." Today, each of the buildings in Red Oak 2 is privately owned. Davis lived in the Bell Star House, where the infamous Lady Outlaw grew up, and owned several other buildings. Lowell Davis passed away at home with his wife Rose in November of 2020 at the age of 83. The individual owners of the other buildings all maintain their own properties, which include private homes, stores, and museum-type exhibits. Y'all, this is really cool. And actually, let me be clear here. His wife did not pass away with him at home. She was by his side. I accidentally skipped over that as I was reading through this. This is really cool. This is an example of private interest investment actually preserving something and preserving it like well. Again, I have some knowledge these days. I can speak with a little bit of at least intellect behind what I'm saying. When I say this, take my word for it. This is not a crappily done like outdoor art installation by some guy, who was a crackpot. No, he was an artist, and it is beautiful. And the historic restoration on these buildings is absolutely, it's almost flawless. It blew my mind how well it is done. It's done better than some state historical site preservation jobs I have seen done at places I will not name. It is so well done. And it's really cool because people actually live in a lot of these places. You can't go into most of them, but you can walk through and drive through. You are welcome. People that live there know this is a tourist attraction. They live in a tourist attraction and they know it. So they're cool. Don't steal their stuff. Don't break into their houses. Don't be jerks. But this is like a really cool example of a way private sector found a way to preserve something where there's not government funds available to do it. It's just a really interesting concept. I applaud Lowell Davis and all the people that live there to this day. If any of you ever listen to this, because this happens occasionally, if any of you ever listen to this, you guys have my gratitude and my respect. You have done a wonderful job, and I think it is awesome what you're doing. And this, you could serve very well as a model for ways that other places could be repurposed and saved where they otherwise might not get saved. So that's really cool. And this is a place definitely worth stopping and checking out, guys. Red Oak 2. All of these buildings, some of them are open. There's a cabin there where I think the first, I don't remember what it said, but it was like the first courthouse or something in 1841. This cabin's 180 years old. That's incredible. There's old service stations. We were there on Sunday. For all I know, some of those other buildings may be open during the week. You would have to look a little bit further into that, but we walked around. There were turkeys, there were chickens. It was a really good time, y'all. Red Oak 2, something totally worth checking out. So after you leave Red Oak 2, you can go on into Carthage. As you go to Carthage, be looking for, get on Google Maps and look. And it's incumbent upon all of you, if you go on a 66 road trip, to really, really do your homework on 66. Because so many of the original route miles are still out there, but are not necessarily a part of what is considered today the Route 66, say, official drive. So when you're going into Carthage, there is Route 66 that is marked on the map on Google Maps. It'll say it right there on the map. But if you look, old 66 alignment pops off of the modern alignment, so to speak, and goes down through the city park. I think it's Spring Park or on the Spring River Park or something like that. And that's the old 66 alignment. So you're going to want to jump off and do that. And there's some interpretive signage down there about Carthage you're going to want to check out, but it's on you to check into those things. Because listen, if you've ever tried to explain someone how to jump off a road, onto a road, take a left here or right there on East County Road 1663570, you'd never follow me. People would turn this off in no time. So just so you know, when you leave Red Oak 2 and you head back into Carthage on 66, be looking to the south side of 66 on Google Maps, and you will find a little bit of the old alignment. And then you can pick it back up and head into Carthage, go right through their downtown. They have a beautiful square. They have got an enormous courthouse that is absolutely gorgeous. And also Carthage was the site of a Civil War battle, and they have a little Civil War museum there that I have been into, and it's a pretty darn cool little museum. They've done a pretty good job with their museum as well. But Carthage is a neat little place. It's a neat little slice of 66, but their downtown, their square is absolutely gorgeous. They have a ton of original, say, Victorian era into the 19 teens and 20 buildings around the square that are just in pristine condition. It's a great place for photography, especially that courthouse. It looks like a Gothic castle, for God's sakes. I was looking for gargoyles. I didn't see any. I was kind of hoping that one might take me away somewhere, but very, very cool place. That brings us to, what did we say? We're into Carthage. So from Carthage on, we're going to be heading into Joplin and beyond. We are at about 30 minutes, somewhere in there. So let's go ahead and take our sponsor break for the night. And when we come back, we will pick up on our way into Joplin, really at Joplin. Not a lot goes on between Carthage and Joplin other than just general 66ery through the beautiful Missouri Ozarks. But when we come back, we're going to pick up at Joplin and we will roll our way down through Kansas to end the night. So you guys hang around and we'll be right back. What is up, all of you wayward souls? I want to tell you guys about our newest sponsor, Bendetti Optics, a brand based right here in the good old US of A, Portland, Oregon, to be exact. And I bought my first pair of Bendetti sunglasses about 1.5 years ago and fell in love with them, so much so that I got online and ordered a couple of more pair. And when I did, there was a small shipping snafu, an order fulfillment snafu. And I got on the phone, gave him a call, and guess what? I get a call back from who? One of the big men themselves, right there in Portland, from the top of the chain. Have a great conversation, and we end up starting this great relationship we have. They more than made right the little snafu that occurred, and I am now a huge proponent of them because I can tell you from personal experience they are good people, and they're trying to compete with the big boys out there coming in at a price point of about $40, but using the exact same frame material, TR90, and the same polarization process as the big guys. As it turns out, something I think we are already probably knew in our hearts, when you buy big name sunglasses, you're buying a big name, not necessarily any more quality than you can get somewhere else, like at Bendetti Optics. They have 29 different styles. They have multiple polarization options for whatever climate you happen to live in. And they back it up with like this lifetime guarantee that if your dog eats your sunglasses, it doesn't matter how you break them, send it back in with a check to cover shipping and handling and you're golden. You got a new pair on the way. These guys are truly trying to do it right. And they have this philosophy that a really good pair of sunglasses should not cost you so much that you are afraid to wear them. And I think all of us outdoorsmen can relate to that. So if you guys, like me, are very practical and like to get more bang for your buck and wear some great looking sunglasses, check out BendettiOptics.com. That's BendeTi optics.com, or you can go over to Instagram/BendettiOptics. And that I highly suggest, whether you buy a pair or not, just to check out the cutest pupper you'll ever see modeling sunglasses. Once again, that's BendettiOptics.com, and make sure and let them know Wayward Stories sent you. And welcome back. Thank you guys for sticking around through our sponsor break. All right, so we're going to pick up in Joplin as we head further west on Route 66. In Joplin, one of the first things you need to do is you need to check out the Joplin Union Depot. Okay, here's the thing. It's abandoned and has been for a long time. It is off limits. There's a fence around it, even though there's a hole cut in the fence and you can easily access it, and people do it all the time for urbex reasons and photography reasons. I don't know from firsthand experience at all. Yeah. But from outside the fence, you can absolutely take photos, and you should just go see it. Union Depot, when it comes to trains, was essentially, for anyone who does not know, it was kind of like an airport terminal. It was a big depot that several railroad lines would work together on to build and share the cost of, and they would have their individual platforms where their trains could come in to service passengers. Kind of like an airport. You know, you can go and you can fly United, you can fly United Arab Emirates. It's up to you. I don't suggest flying at all. Planes don't stay in the sky anymore. I don't know why that is. Don't watch the news. It's terrible. But Union Depots were really neat. The one in Joplin absolutely deserves money and to be restored. Joplin, I'm looking at you. I know money's hard to come by, but you guys need to turn that into some kind of a museum. That is a gorgeous building that is literally sitting there rotting into the ground. But for us, you can go respectfully. Do not enter the hole that's cut into the fence right in the big entryway and take pictures from outside. And you should do that, I think. But beyond inciting you to break the law, not really, Route 66 passes right through Joplin, and they have a beautiful mural park that has been freshly done. I don't know how recently it was done, but it is beautiful. They have a couple of awesome murals. Joplin has several awesome buildings in their downtown, and Route 66 generally goes right through the downtowns of all these old, communities. And so if you really like old buildings, if you like photography of these kinds of things, like, you're going right into the heart of it. I'm actually going to read you about Joplin's mural park and let them kind of tell you the details. My daughter and I took a lot of photos there. It's really, really cool. It's a great place to stop for pictures. But according to Joplin themselves, as America's longest museum, Route 66 offers visitors a deep-rooted sense of Americana. Historic Route 66 brought travelers through the heart of Joplin in the mid-20th century. Our city became a popular stop on the highway, and businesses along Main Street flourished because of it. Today, on the same street, Route 66 Mural Park pays homage to that nostalgic era with 3 large tile murals. The upper mural is Cruisin' into Joplin, What is more nostalgic than a classic car and a billboard? This mural illustrates a welcome to guests cruising into Joplin from the west, beginning their 317-mile journey across Missouri's Route 66. The American Ribbon, the lower left mural on this large panel. This mural depicts a Route 66 map and shows how the historic route connects Joplin to the Great Lakes and to the Pacific Ocean. Annually, hundreds of Mother Road enthusiasts, domestic and international alike, take their keepsake photos in front of the red Mach 1963 Corvette. I think they are grossly underestimating when they say hundreds. We're talking probably tens of thousands. Okay, Route 66 is a popular adventure. Both murals were designed by artist Chris Ackerman and John White. And the final mural, Route 66 Tri-State Corridor, the bottom right. For decades, the Joplin region carried the moniker of the Tri-State Mining District, referring to the lead and zinc mining district in southwest Missouri, southeast Kansas, and northeast Oklahoma. That mural, also very cool. Joplin, very cool. They have a lot of great shops in downtown Joplin. Joplin's a pretty little city. And they've got a lot of great, again, Route 66 nostalgic stuff. They're one of the cities that are leaning heavily into their heritage with Route 66. There are a lot of cool things in Joplin that you can check out and do and see if you are the intrepid road tripper. And of course, their mural park is one of the primary things you should probably be looking into doing. Now, as you head out of Joplin, it's about to get pretty interesting pretty fast. When you enter Kansas at Galena, as I said before, there's only 13.2 miles of Route 66 in Kansas, but there's like a half dozen things that are really, really cool for you to check out in this 13.2 miles. So Kansas, weighing in on the low end of the scale of all the states that have Route 66 pass through them, has like a pretty high preponderance of pretty dang cool stuff that has to do with 66. So Galena itself is the oldest mining town in Kansas. Route 66 cuts right through Galena, which is today a shell of its former self. It used to be one of the more important little towns in the United States because of that tri-state mining district. Y'all, which there's a whole thing there about EPA Superfund sites. You guys, we talked about Pitcher, Oklahoma some time back, and I forget which episode that was. It's the Daltons, where we went to Coffeyville, Wild Wild West, Coffeyville, Kansas. You can learn more. Go listen to that episode if you want to learn more about this tri-state mining district and the excessive amount of heavy metals that went into the water table and killed like everyone to where they had to evacuate entire communities. Galena's in that neck of the woods. It's right in that ballpark. It used to be a very, very important town. It's kind of small now, but it gives us, guys, listen, it gives us one of the most iconic modern pop culture things that we associate with Route 66, and that would be the movie Cars, right? How many of you are familiar with old Lightning McQueen and Cars and Tow Mater, right? Okay, Cars on the route. If you are looking here on the YouTube video, for anyone who's listening, I'm holding up a little, what is this, rat card with Tow Mater right on the front. Okay, guys, Cars on the route. I'm about to read you about it, but guess what? The truck that is the inspiration for Tow Mater, one of the most lovable characters in that movie, was literally right there at this service station, this old service station, Cars on the Route on Route 66. When the Pixar creators, like the producers and the directors, like the creative team, was making road trips out Route 66 to get inspiration for the movie, this is where they found Tow Mater. And this little town and this gas station is actually the inspiration for Radiator Springs in the show. I always thought it would have been Radium Springs out in, I believe it's Nevada. But you know what? That may not line up with 66. I never even thought of that. I'd have to check it out. Maybe Radium Springs is on 66. I don't know. But Radiator Springs in the movie is based on this little service station. And Tow Mater is, well, he's styled after what they've come to call Tow Tater, which is, you know what, let me just read it for you guys. Nearly 5 years before the blockbuster animated movie Cars was released, a team of Pixar designers went on a research tour of Route 66. According to Route 66 historian Michael Wallace, who led the trip, shortly after entering Kansas, the team found a lonely old tow truck that most folks would pass by without a second glance. Pixar's head of story, Joe Ranft, however, saw beyond its rust and broken down parts, and he saw the inspiration for the character Mater. Inspired by the story, in 2006, 4 women seized the opportunity to get travelers to visit their little section of the Mother Road in Kansas today. And today, Tow Tater, the 1951 International L-170 series boom truck and inspiration for the animated movie's most lovable character, sits next to a restored circa 1938 Canotex station in Galena, Kansas, that houses a gift shop, restaurant, and Route 66 welcome center. I will tell you from experience, when my daughter and I were there, they were the sweetest people. They gave me all kinds of history. They showed us pictures that had to do with the filming, or not filming, but that had to do with the inspirational parts that helped inspire Cars. They talked about the 4 women that originally had owned that service station at the time, and they were frying up food, y'all. You cannot get a better pit stop on Route 66 than Cars on the Route. The folks are cool. They're cooking food on a grill. They've got snacks. They've got tchotchkes. They've got Tow Mater, except they call them Tow Tater. Why do they call them Tow Tater? Because of marketing and copyright infringement. And that's BS. Pixar, Disney. You should let them call their Tow Tater Tow Mater, because he was the original. And you legal people, you guys need to get a life. Leave little Tow Tater alone. This is iconic, guys. This is the place. This is the place that inspired some of the most iconic imagery and one of the most iconic characters in the movie Cars. A lot of you people love Cars. I got really sick of it. My nephew super loved it. I had enough of it, personally. But it's super cool to go to the place where the inspiration was. And Galena itself is a pretty cool little town, too. Cars on the Route is there. You can get pictures with that original 1961 International truck that inspired Mater. You can get lunch there. And also, it's just a neat little town. They've got a couple of cool murals. There's like this cool drive-through thing that they have just outside of town that you can park your car under, get a photograph with. It's a tiny little town with really cool salt-of-the-earth people, good people that we enjoyed talking to, and they were more than gracious to give us all the information we wanted to hear. And guys, you want to talk about photogenic. That service station is beautifully restored. It's something you have got to check out. Okay, what else is in Galena, though? Not a whole lot, to be completely fair. I will say they have an original MKT, Missouri, Kansas, Texas train depot that houses a museum. Housed in the old Missouri, Kansas, Texas train depot, the Galena Mining and Historical Museum contains items of local history and numerous artifacts from the days of lead and zinc mining. So anyway, that's also a really beautifully restored train depot. And it's great for photography as well. And if you're out there doing Route 66, you better, by God, be interested in photography, because you're missing multiple opportunities. Like 66 is perfect, from stuff that's restored to stuff that is not restored. The more fun stuff is the stuff that's not restored, especially when you get way out in the desert, which I've talked about in other episodes, out in western Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, stuff that's just abandoned. There's no clear property rights. There's no trespassing signs, and you just go in and you urbex these things. And man, you talk about the ghost of the past coming to visit you. Imagining what it would have been like in those days, and you're kind of standing there in this empty space that's become a very literal liminal space. Oh, it's trippy. It's so cool. It's so cool. But anyway, we need to move on out of Galena. There's still a couple of things left to talk about. Even if tonight's show ends up a little short, that'll be fine, because I got to edit it and I've got other stuff to do. After you leave Galena, you're going to head west on 66. You're going to go through a little town called Riverton. Be on the lookout. You're on 66, guys. Be on the lookout for the old hotels. Actually motels, not hotels. Look for the old motels. Look for the old diners. You're going to find old gas stations that are just sitting in someone's field that they're using to store stuff. You're going to find all the little things. This is a part of the game. This is the game of driving Route 66, is picking out the old buildings that were clearly there at the time and being able to kind of guess what they were in that day. And your brain, if you got the imagination for it, the whole time is rolling through this, and you're seeing these old 1950s and 60s and 70s cars rolling families out 66 on their summer vacation on their way to the Grand Canyon. It's a lot of fun, especially for the nerd in us. I'm a big nerd, so I have big fun. You might be a little nerd. You might just have a little fun. But either way, it's going to be fun. You're going to enjoy it. So, heading on, you go through Riverton, and then you come to the Rainbow Bridge. What is the Rainbow Bridge? It is an old bridge over Brush Creek, approximately 2 miles west of Riverton. It is now a county road, but it is the alignment of Route 66. This bridge is a single-span concrete marsh arch bridge. Marsh arch bridge. Say that 3 times fast. And it is the sole surviving bridge of this type on the entire length of the former U.S. Route 66. 2 other marsh arch bridges were also located on 66 in Kansas, both over the Spring River. This one was built in 1923. It has recently been painted, and it is beautiful. It is perfect for photography. And also, speaking of, if you want to go see these places I'm talking about tonight, specifically Red Oak 2, Cars on the Route, this Marsh Arch Bridge here, and a couple of other places along, I can't remember what all's what. Go over to Instagram and check out my profile, waywardson119, or you can get there more easily through the website, waywardstories.com. It's right on the landing page. And you can see pictures of all these things. You can get an idea of what you're looking for. And this Marsh Arch Bridge, that is going to trip me up all night, so we need to quit talking about it. It's beautiful. You can still drive across it. It's a one-way, one-lane road. You have to hit it going west to east. You're going to go into the road from the west to drive across it. It's been bypassed for safety's sake and preservation's sake, but you can drive onto that little road. It's kind of like an access road type of situation, and drive across it. And you need to do that, but you're going to need to hit it through the east entrance and as you're traveling west. If you are traveling east, you need to drive on past it and turn down onto the road and take it from the east approach, so you'll be going in the right direction. It's great for photography. I got a few cool pictures there. They got a cool board. They put up a big empty board for you to write stuff on and put graffiti on. It gave me an idea. I actually got some Wayward Story stickers made with a QR code on there, so I can slap them on something like that. I didn't have one at the time, but it inspired me, and now I've finally ordered Wayward Story stickers, and I've got a handful of those that if I ever run across those kinds of places or up in the Oklahoma Green Country, there's a pedestrian underpass that we talked about in the Baxter Springs to Tulsa episode, where they had a big mural in the underpass, but the other side was a white wall with the specific purpose of graffitiing on that and not on the mural. Perfect place to slap a sticker. You get to sign your name on there. You get to look through the names of people who have traveled the road, where they're from. It's like a big visitors register. It's really, really cool. But that Marsh Arch Bridge, they call it the Rainbow Bridge because it's really beautiful. It's very aesthetic. Go, again, check it out on my Instagram. But that's something you're going to want to be checking out as you travel 66 through Kansas. From there, you're heading on down to Baxter Springs. Again, keeping your eyes open for the standard fare of Route 66 things. And I should say all of this is through the Ozark foothills. You're sort of working your way out of the more dramatic stretches of the Ozark Mountains. If you're coming 66 from St. Louis, you're really in the Ozark high country. You're coming off of the higher plateaus. You go down into Arkansas where there is no 66, but for reference, the Ozarks are huge. You go down into Arkansas Ozarks down here with us, you get into the Boston Mountains. They get extremely dramatic. Up there, they can be dramatic, but you're kind of in the high country. You're kind of on a lot of plateaus and running a lot of spines, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Very green, very picturesque. A lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool little towns to check out. Like these kinds of road trips, 66 is perfect for the road trip for the person who likes the backcountry byway, who likes to find the little out of the way places. Route 66 is that. But because it has such nostalgic appeal and it has such tourist appeal, people put money into it. So it's still like a backcountry byway, but it's one where the roads are usually in pretty good shape and there's almost always somewhere to stop and get a burger, right? There's always almost somewhere to stop and pee. So anyway, moving on from that little tangent, that little sidetrack, but that's what 66 is all about, guys. We're going to head on down from this Marsh Arch Bridge. Nailed it that time. That's a take. Cut, wrap. We're done for tonight. Put it in the can. Actually, we can't be done for tonight. We got to move on because we got to wrap it up. And we're going to do that by heading on down to Baxter Springs. Baxter Springs is pretty cool. They've got, just as you're coming into town, they have a beautiful little sunflower mural, which is a great place to take pictures. And this is where, if any of you have listened in the past and you listened to my episode that was formerly Route 66 through the through Oklahoma Green Country, which is now Tulsa to, or Baxter Springs to Tulsa, to make it a little clearer to people who are scrolling. I talked about this is where I met those two gentlemen who were taking their little jaunt, which was driving the entirety of 66 from Chicago to Santa Monica. So at this sign, it's a really great photo opportunity. And it's just a little sign at the very edge of town. It's not a huge deal, but it's a pretty cool place to check out. And we're going to kind of wrap up here in Baxter Springs, which is where I started out in that previous episode. But we're going to go ahead and talk about it a little bit for anyone who's not heard the previous episode. One of the main things that you're going to find in Baxter Springs that's Route 66 related is the Kansas Route 66 Visitor Center. And it is, I'm going to read this to you. Again, it is another service station that has been beautifully restored, turned into a museum and a little visitor center. Actually, it's more of a visitor center than a museum. The entirety of the inside of the walls are all white and fresh paint, and they are all covered tip to toe with people's signatures. I had to find an empty space to write in Wayward Stories. This was, let's see, from the most beautiful to the most neglected, and today, the beautiful again on Route 66. Independent Oil and Gas Company. Constructed in 1930, the Kansas Route 66 Visitor Center started its existence as a gasoline station owned by the Independent Oil and Gas Company. The station replaced an earlier livery barn at the corner of 10th Street and Military Avenue in Baxter Springs. The new station opened July 7, 1930 as one of the district's finest. The Tudor cottage style received much attention from the community and in local advertisements. The station didn't operate long under the independent banner, but was merged into the Phillips Petroleum Company. By October, the station joined 3 other businesses in Baxter Springs selling Phillips 66 products. Within a year following the merger, the property was officially transferred into the ownership of the Phillips Petroleum Company. Sometime before August 1942, an addition was built on the east side of the original structure, turning it into an L-shaped addition containing one bay service garage connected to the original building by an area used to display automotive merchandise offered for sale. American capitalism, baby, always there to heed the call. This has got a really cool newspaper ad for the opening of this building in this brochure here. July 7th, 1930, announcing the opening of Baxter Springs' most beautiful service station, 10th and Military, today only. I love old advertising. All right, so anyway, this building was, in 2003, placed on the National Register of Historic Places. In 2005, the Baxter Springs Historical Society purchased the property, and under a grant from the National Park Service and support from the community and concerned individuals, restored the building to its 1940s appearance. Today, it serves as the Kansas Route 66 Visitor Center. It is beautiful, and something that my daughter and I got to do there that was very cool is we got to meet a gentleman named Crazy Legs. He was actually the inspiration for one of the characters in the film. And I don't remember which one. And I'm not going to look it up. I can't just really stop right now and look it up on the fly. But old Crazy Legs, his knees are double jointed and he can literally turn his legs around backwards. He had a lot of pictures of himself with some of those Disney Pixar people with his legs backward, and it's weird. But it's his claim to fame, and he was a super friendly man, and he was there that day, and he was very proud of the role he played and his inspiration for the character in Cars, which I unfortunately, God, this is so disrespectful. I don't remember who it was, and I just can't stop and check. But if you Google Crazy Legs, his last name might be Walker and his first name might be Dean. Is my photographic memory working for me? Is it Dean Crazy Legs Walker? I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be right. And it doesn't particularly matter. I guess it matters to Crazy Legs. But, sir, if you ever hear this, we appreciate you. I appreciate how sweet you were to my daughter and all the awesome information you were able to give us about Route 66. And so, the Kansas Route 66 Visitor Center in Baxter Springs is where we're going to kind of wrap up tonight. There is an old historic Civil War era military fort type of area that's just up from this that you might want to check out if you're into that kind of thing. I went and took pictures for a long-term project I'm kind of working on for Civil War sites in the Trans-Mississippi Theater. But a lot of you might not care that much, but it's there in Baxter Springs as well. And Baxter Springs is a great place to wrap up tonight's show as we've made our way from Springfield to Baxter Springs. You have gotten all 13.2 miles of Route 66 in Kansas, plus a little bit of Southwest Missouri. I've managed to set myself up to be able to traverse the other half of Route 66 in Missouri for an episode, hopefully in the very near future, all the way up to the Talking Rocks Bridge in St. Louis, which I've really driven that probably 3 to 4 dozen times when I was working in St. Louis, generally on I-44, but like not the actual 66. So we're going to be doing that soon. And like I said, I may be wrapping up this little gap between Tulsa and OKC to be able to put out an episode on basically Tulsa to Texola, the Texas line with Oklahoma. So we've killed a lot of birds with one stone tonight. We're doing pretty good for a impromptu episode that I did not expect to get the opportunity to make. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I didn't forget anything too important. And you guys need to be preparing yourself for a big 66 road trip next year during the centennial. You should probably get online and check and see. I bet there's going to be planned celebrations at specific dates and times that you might want to check out. I know I'm going to be looking for that. But 2026, 100 years of Route 66. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm a documentarian, right? I figured that out recently, by the way. Quick aside. I'm not like, I've been struggling with how do I end up sort of as an influencer that hates influencers? I'm not an influencer. I'm a documentarian. Influencers are for the sheeple, right? Documentarians are for the shepherds. Documentarians are for the people who think about stuff. Influencers are for the people who don't think. They just monkey see, monkey do. So that helped me clear some stuff up for myself. From the last episode, still figuring myself out as we go, right? Got to be self-aware. So, as a documentarian, I am already looking towards 2026 and how I may be able to participate in that, and also cleaning up my already extant collection of Route 66 information. So that's what this is all about. I hope you guys have enjoyed the ride tonight. Until we meet again, I hope you guys will go and check out the website, waywardstories.com. I hope you guys will drop me a line. I always encourage you. Send me an email, mywaywardstory@gmail.com. I love to hear from you guys, as I do from several of you. So don't hesitate to send me an email and get in touch. Man, hit me up and we'll go road trip together or something. Or when I'm in your area, we'll like go have a burger and chill. You guys, send me a message. I think that would be super cool. I like meeting listeners. I've got to meet a few, over the years. I've gotten to meet one or two here or there. That's really neat. I enjoy that. So you guys send me an email. Until we meet again, you guys bide your time, hang in there, go support your national parks. Good God, support your national parks. If you're not paying attention, get your head out of the sand. They need your support more than ever. Until next time, you guys go out. Get on some Route 66 somewhere. Get on some kind of road trip somewhere. And until we meet again, you guys be good to each other.